Welcome back to the SHEThrives Influential Women podcast. I am your host, Lori Murphy, and I am an empowerment coach for women, public speaker, award-winning published co-author, as well as a monthly columnist for the Rochester Women Online magazine. And it is so good to be here with all of you today. For those of you who are new to the show and are joining for the very first time, welcome. A little bit about me is that I am sober now just a little over 13 years from alcoholism, and my journey in recovery has led me down this path of healing, self-discovery, and hearing my calling, which is to help women through finding, their self-worth, finding who they truly are, living up to their fullest potential. And the purpose behind this podcast is to share a message of hope. The mission is to let women know that they are worthy, they are valuable, that they can do anything they put their mind to. And we bring on influential women that are going to share their stories and get into some real raw and deep topics that we face every day and how we can overcome those situations. And if you haven't yet, click that subscribe button, never miss another episode. And please be sure to download your favorite episode, share with a friend, leave a review. Let's keep this podcast circulating so that women all over the world can hear this message. Today, I have an amazing guest, and I am so excited to have her. Her name is Dr. Michelle Toni McComb. Toni relocated to Springfield, Massachusetts from Hartford, Connecticut in June of 2006. Through involvement in her new local church, Toni has given the opportunity to become a volunteer camera person for the Springfield City Council meetings. This was an eye-opening experience and sparked an interest in her local community and the needs for change. Toni later became a volunteer mentor for the Hampden County Sheriff's Department through the All-Inclusive Support Services program and has been serving individuals returning to the community for over 14 years. For the past 5 years, she has also served on the Community Accountability Board, also through the Hampden County Sheriff's Department. Toni is a graduate of Clemente Course in the Humanities class of 2017 and currently holds a BS in Human Services through Springfield College. I am so excited to have her on. She's also certified chaplain and loves to serve the community both spiritually and naturally. Toni, how are you today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on, Lori. I'm really excited to talk with you today and
Uh,
have your listeners listen to our conversation.
Absolutely. Just recently, I had the honor of being a guest on a radio show that both you and Lisa, I'm sorry,
Alan.
Allen, Lisa Allen have, you know, put out there for the world. It's an amazing show. Tell us a little bit about it.
So that show is The Journey to Divine Intervention, and it's Lisa's show, and I co-host it with her. And we bring on guests to talk about different topics and different things that they specialize in, and changes that they've made in their life, and how God has actually helped to reshape their lives.
It That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, you have a lot of amazing guests that appear on this radio show, correct?
That's correct. That's correct. And I also have my own show, The
Yes.
Doctors in the House, which is also on True Vine Radio as well, where I also bring on people who have amazing stories to tell of how they've overcome and triumphed over tragedy, over loss, over grief. And I also bring on people that are have different expertise and they can be a resource for others that are looking for help. Because I just feel like that people's lives can be changed if we open up and share. The Bible tells us we're overcome by the words of our testimony, but we don't often testify. People overcome things, and I think we become ashamed of what we've been through
Hmm.
and we hold it back. But these conversations need to be had because you never know who's going through the exact same thing or something very similar that you've been through.
Yeah. I am excited to listen to your show. I know we were just talking about it before we started our recording, and I'm blown away by the stories that we were talking about that you are bringing on. You're talking about topics that a lot of people aren't talking about, and I think that that is courageous and powerful. And I'm so glad that you were called to do that.
Oh, thank you. I know this season, I'm in season 2 of my show, and I'm dedicating this season to those very, very hard topics. I had a guest on previously who was talking about sexual assault, and it was a male. He was sexually assaulted as a child, and he talked about how he overcame that and the stigma, the trauma that followed him, and how hard it was, but being able to face the person who victimized him and being able to heal from that and go on. He's now married and he has children of his own, and he's leading a successful life, and he wants to reach out and help other males to be able to come forth and be free, to free themselves from that trauma by talking and giving them a safe space.
Yeah.
I also have on someone who's survived domestic violence,
Hmm.
and she shared her personal story, and we talked about some resources for people and things to look for, to kind of help people if they're going through that now, or if you know someone, or if you yourself are a victim of DV, where to get some help and some things to consider in getting the help that you need.
Yeah. That's those are very important things because we don't realize even when with men what they're experiencing, or we seem to forget that, they go through these things too.
Hmm.
And I think it's important that, with especially domestic violence, men, women, it's so important to be able to have these conversations so people know what to do when they're in that situation themselves, and so that they know they're not alone.
That's so true. And then, it all ties together with the mental health crisis that we have, not just only in this country, but throughout the world. Because when you are oppressed, when you have been violated and you don't have the chance or the opportunity to speak out or to free yourself from these things, your mental health will decline.
Hmm.
And I think that a lot of times we don't pay attention to the signs that someone's in distress in
Hmm.
order to help them. And with the climate that we're living in this community now, economically, politically, socially, racially, everything, it's so heavy right now. We're in for a real big breakdown in mental health
Yeah.
with our people.
Yeah. And a lot of it is things that we have no control over and things that seem to be just progressively getting worse all around us,
And
and
that's true.
now, I really want to dive into more of that, but I wanted to ask you a little bit about yourself. Share with us a little bit about who you are. What led you to this work?
Well, I've always had a heart for helping people. I've been helping people since I was a little girl with anything that I could be helpful with. I have a love for people, and as being a licensed chaplain, and also I have a doctorate in divinity, I just really have a love and a heart to see people do better.
Hmm.
And it hasn't always been easy for me. I've gone through things on my own. I've been addicted to drugs and alcohol. I've been actually in abusive relationships,
Hmm.
single parent. You name it, the gamut of it. I've gone through it too, and I just know if God can get me over these things, He can
Hmm.
get anyone else over it too.
Oh, yeah. That I can
You
relate
know,
to.
yeah. And if you don't open up and talk, simple conversations and letting people know that you're more and better than what you're going through. What you're experiencing now is not you. It may be a situation, but you're not a situation. You
Hmm.
are a purpose because
Yeah,
we were all created with a purpose.
we
And
are.
if you can see past your situation, you would be able to look into your purpose and start fulfilling that.
Amen. That's so, so true. I mean, I, and I've shared this before, and I know that we kind of touched on it a little bit. I was also battling my struggles with alcoholism, eating disorders. I've had substance abuse issues, as well as other addictions and struggles and trauma.
Mm.
And I didn't know my purpose. I didn't know my self-worth. I had no idea that I had any value to offer this world whatsoever. And it was a real long journey to get to where I am today.
Mm.
But I have learned through my own experience that we do all have a purpose for this life.
Yeah.
And getting connected to that is,
And having the boldness to live it out, because it took
yes.
me a long time to be able to want to come forward and say anything about the things that I had lived through, or even just to be seen. I was a person when I grew up, even as a child, I didn't mind helping people, but I'm a behind the scenes type of person. I never really wanted to be in front of a camera. If you ask me like even 2, 3 years ago, would I be a radio show host or a podcaster? No.
Right.
No, no one wants to hear me. Nobody, I have nothing to say that's of any importance. And I think there's a lot of people that feel that way, but it's not the truth.
Yeah. I felt that way.
It's
I,
easy.
you
It's
know,
easy to feel like that.
I think it was 2018 or 19, I felt this, desire to start a podcast. I was doing a Facebook group and I'd go live on it. And I was like, no one really cares. No one, no one's going to want to listen to my podcast. You know what I mean? And it was like, it took me up until 2024 with the encouragement of my mentor to just, rip the Band-Aid off and do it. But I was ready at that point. And I was like, well, if only three people listen to it, it's fine. You know?
I remember feeling the same way with the radio show. Now, although was, I don't know, I won't say I was shy because I would talk to people. I just never really wanted to be, I think, in the spotlight was my
Hmm.
thing. But I always loved talk shows. And I remember being a little girl and thinking to myself, wow, it'd be really nice to have a talk show. But
Hmm.
then I just never wanted to be in front of the camera. I don't know how that was going to work out. But that's something that I wanted to do. And when I was offered the opportunity through True Vine Radio to have my own show, I said the same thing you did the first. Who's going to listen to it? What am I going to talk about? No one's going to listen to me.
Hmm.
And the station owner who offered me the spot, he was like, people will listen to you. You do have something to say. And I'm still feeling in myself. No, no, I don't. I don't. No one's going to hear it, But I got to that place where you were. If only one person listens to this and it helps them, then I did what God had me on this earth to do.
Exactly.
I helped someone.
Yep. Then I say a very similar thing that if only one person hears this and it resonates with them and it helps them, then I am living my purpose. I am living the purpose that God intended for me to do. And, it's a beautiful, beautiful gift to be able to come to a place where you're comfortable and confident enough in yourself to allow your voice to be heard.
Yes. And it takes a while. I mean,
It
some
does.
people they seem like that naturally. They were just born that way. They're just outgoing. They project and they're fine with it. But for many of us, it takes a while to work
Hmm.
up and get the courage to do this.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say this for anyone else who's feeling like they want to start a podcast, a television show, a radio show, whatever it is, write a book, do it.
Hmm.
Even if you're scared, even if you're nervous, do it. It is really freeing
Yes.
because I was afraid. The fear I had of doing it had me bound, but like this is so liberating to be able to just be you in front
Hmm.
of people. And you will get to the place where you feel like I don't really care. If you don't like what I'm saying, turn it off. Then I'm not for you, but I'm here for somebody.
Yeah. Now, I'm curious to know what how you overcame your struggles with alcohols, drugs, when you came to that realization that, and that turning point in your life, that it was time to make a change that led you down to the path of being able to have that courage to start that radio show.
So I had to really dig and find the root of what first took me to my addiction,
Mm.
because we tend to look at things on the surface and we don't really dig deeper. That
Hmm.
was not a place or a person, the person that I wanted to be, but through pain and trauma from childhood, from relationships, and just life in general. A lot of things happened to me in my life that back to back that weren't good. A lot of loss of people and grief, and I didn't have time to really properly grieve, and no one really helped me. Traumatic experiences. One experience I'll share is like when I was 8 years old, um, I opened the door to go out to go to school, and someone had OD'd on the door at the doorstep.
Mm.
And I opened it. It was a man, a grown man, and he fell in and fell on top of me. He was dead.
Mm.
And I would imagine being an 8-year old child with a dead body laying on top of you.
Oh my God.
And so my mom became hysterical, and she's screaming, but she's not screaming um, anything about like screaming out of fear for me. She's yelling at me and asking me, why did I let him in? I
Oh.
didn't let him in. I opened the door. He fell and he fell. And I'm laying under him
Yeah.
still. And she's not pulling him off. Like, she's hysterical. But her mindset was, why did you let him in here? Why did you let him in here? Get him out. I can't lift him,
Yeah.
you know? And after that happened, when we finally, my uncle was also living in the house with us. He came and he got the body up, and they called the police, and everything transpired. They sent me to school.
Wow. No
No
time to
counseling.
process what just
Nope.
happened and be able to, feel it and move through it and navigate it because that had to have been terrifying.
Yeah, it was. It really was. And I mean, I still remember it like it was yesterday. I don't think the thoughts of that will ever go away. And it was just a lot for an 8-year old. And then to be expected to just continue on like nothing ever happened. Just be a little normal kid.
Yeah.
It's okay. Just continue to be normal.
Yeah.
It
Because that's a
doesn't always function that way,
right. I mean, that's
and
a pretty heavy thing to have to process and go through, especially at 8 years old when, you're still innocent and
mhm,
pure. Life
yeah.
hasn't affected now life's starting to affect you. And yeah, trauma like that is traumatic.
And so I think at that particular time in my life is when I realized that my mom, because I'm going to say this in her defense of her reaction to it, my mom had mental illness. She was schizophrenic.
Mm.
She was a bipolar schizophrenic, and she was different.
Hmm.
She wasn't a normal mom like I saw. I'm going to air quotes normal mom that I saw with my peers, with my
Right.
friends, and I think at that point, when that trauma happened and her reaction, it was the day that it clicked with me. Something's wrong with my mother. Something's different with my mother.
Hmm.
And to be raised by a person with mental illness, that's a traumatic experience in
Hmm.
itself.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times she wasn't my mother, I was hers, and I was
Yeah.
still a little kid.
Yeah. You have
And
had a lot of things to overcome, and there's had to have been a lot of healing in your journey.
mhm. So, as life rocked on, and as I said, it was a whole lot of, I mean, we could tell a whole show of me telling you stuff that went wrong within my life. But even with those few things, I think that the alcohol and drug use came because I just needed this layer of, I don't want to think about it anymore.
Hmm.
take me away. I can't get away physically, but mentally I can leave this and go somewhere else. My mind can, I thought with the drug, my mind could be free. We know that's not
Mm-hmm.
the truth, but when you're in a bad situation, you think wrong.
Yeah.
And so I took 20 years. I was on drugs. I had gotten to the place where I was actually suicidal. And I was decided I was going to get high one night and take my own life. I ended up getting sick. I went in the bathroom to clean myself up. Of course, here I am. I want to die. Now think about the logic in this. I want to die, but I don't want to die dirty. So I'm going to go
Yeah.
clean myself up, you know? And as I did, I looked in the mirror in the bathroom and I said to myself, it's got to be better. It's got to be more to life than this.
Mm-hmm.
It really has got to be more to life than this. And I just asked God, God, if you help me, I promise there'll never be another day in my life like this. Help me. I don't want to be this way. It's so ugly. I'm so ugly. The way that I'm living is ugly. And so then at that point, I actually flushed everything that I had, and I never got high another day again in my life. God actually delivered me from the drugs and alcohol.
Wow. That's amazing. And I'm
Yeah.
just blown away by that. You
Yeah.
have been incredibly blessed with the gift.
Yeah. And I heard within myself in the spirit that, I said, well, I'm never going to tell anybody this because it's really ugly. I'm just going to go on and live my life from now on, and I'm going to try to do right and just be good, right?
Mm-hmm.
I heard in the spirit, you have to tell people this. And it's not easy because you don't want people to know, people that don't know that side of you, you don't want them to know that side of you because
Mm-hmm.
I hid it. Because all those years when I was on drugs, I was still working, I was still
Mm-hmm.
going to school, I was still raising kids, I was doing everything during the day. I was normal and functional. At night, when I had alone time, I was a space cadet.
Yeah. I'm still over here and I'm just thinking how there are some similarities, in your story to what I experienced because for me, childhood trauma and, sexual assault, things to that nature, you
Mhm.
know, I didn't want to feel what I was feeling anymore. And I didn't want to, you know, I didn't want to exist. And the
Mhm.
alcohol and even the substances I was using really gave me that. It was numbing and it was giving me that escape from myself and everything that I felt. And once that all wore off, the next day it all came rushing back. And
Yep.
every day it came rushing back, it actually came back worse. And I didn't
Hmm.
know that. And it got to a point to me where it was I didn't want to live, but I didn't necessarily, I was too afraid to do it for myself. And I would, at the time I was working for a dental office that where our parking was across a busy street and a parking lot. And I would leave that parking lot and start walking across the street and I'd see a city bus coming toward me and I would walk just a little bit slower and say, just just do it for me. And then and I talk about this in the Warrior Women Volume 3, the anthology I was just in, was when I got arrested for a DWI, I I had this experience where God lifted that obsession and that compulsion to drink from me, and I haven't since. And I did utilize 12-step programs to really help with my sobriety, but you know, I didn't want to feel. And then I didn't want to live. And then when I finally got sober, it was trying to live with it and learn how to heal from it, which was an entirely different experience and journey because it wasn't, healing and growing is not linear and it never stops.
Hmm. That's true. That's
I'm
true.
still like, and I've been on my journey now 13 years. And I'm still like, even to at this current moment in my life, working on healing from old things that I'm still attached to. And I only am just starting to realize that I'm attached to the old story and how it
Mhm.
affects me in my current life. And just being able to, and it's quite the experience.
It really is. Yeah. I'm like 20, 25, going on 26 years in on my sobriety. And I thank God
Congratulations.
every day for it. And so it just makes me, when I see people out there, I reach out and I say, listen, you don't have to stay here. But the biggest part of it is realizing that whatever got you here most likely is not your fault. Because all the things that I felt, all the things that I went through that pushed me to want to numb myself weren't my fault.
Yeah.
They were just things that I experienced. And so that's why, going back to what I said in the opening when you first introduced me, like realizing that you're not the situation.
Yes.
You're in a situation, but you have a purpose.
Yes.
And it's hard to peel back those layers to get to that, but it is still yet possible to do. And
Hmm.
it's something that we all have to do. And once you start, mentally, it's going to be hard. It's going to hurt
Yeah.
because we repress the things that we don't want to think about, the things that we don't want to talk about, the things that hurt us the most.
Hmm.
But when we finally let them out, we can begin to heal.
Yeah.
We can begin to turn them around. We can begin to say, I love me, because I kept looking for love on the outside. I wanted
Mm.
everyone else to love me, but I didn't love me.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
remember being in a place like, especially if I wanted love from you and you wouldn't give it to me, then I really felt like, no, nobody loves me. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
I couldn't feel the love from the other people who did, because I was only noticing the rejection from the ones who didn't.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's hard. It's very hard to overcome that when you realize that that's what you're doing. If there
Yeah.
is anyone listening or watching that realizes that they're in that kind of a place, do your best to get out of it.
Yeah. And it's to those very people to know that they're not alone. I mean, that
Mhm.
is something, and that's something that I've even recently been reflecting on was how, and there was a point in my life where I I felt like I didn't love myself. I didn't know myself. I didn't like myself, but I was really stressed, like trying to find love. Because if somebody else could love me, then I could love me.
Mhm.
I had worth and value if the nice guy loved me. And when I got the nice guy, I mean, it was I was very unhealthy in that situation. And it was 8 years of unhealthiness.
Mhm.
Um, and I look back on that and I'm just like, I'm grateful to not be in that place that I was back then. But I had to really work through the wreck. I call it like the wreckage of my past. Things that happened. I don't like to say to me because in the long run it happened for me because I wouldn't be
Mhm.
sitting here if I didn't have those experiences.
Exactly.
How I could learn to find self-love when I was told for years that I was stupid, that I wasn't good enough, that I would never amount to anything,
Mhm.
you know? And
And that
being,
is, it's
yeah,
so
go ahead.
important to not do that with children, because I had the same thing. It's like I said, my mom had mental illness, and for the most part, a lot of times I was the victim to her when she had her episodes.
Mm,
And I would hear those same things. You're ugly, you're stupid, you're fat, you're not gonna ever be anything, no one's ever gonna love you, no one's ever gonna want you, you're gonna be alone all your life. And you may hear these things and you wanna think or believe that they're not true, but it still gets inside of you.
hmm.
It gets inside and it resonates and it resonates and it repeats and it comes to a head, and you begin to start living the things that people have said.
Yeah.
So if for when you have children, especially with children, Speak positivity in their life.
Yeah,
Speak it all the time in their life so that they can have it. The Bible tells us that our words have power. The power of life and death is in the tongue. So we have to use our tongues for good and not for evil.
I love that. I love how you put that out there and said that because it's so true and it makes a lot of sense. And and the thing is that when we are going through trauma and we're going through our own we have to deal now with our own mental illness and our own mental health struggles.
Mhm.
And you know, I'm sure because I know for me, I had as a result of the trauma and the PTSD, there was depression and anxiety and you know, a lot of messiness.
Mhm.
So for somebody who might be in that place, who's dealing with those mental health struggles from the traumas, what would you say to them? What could we do to offer them a way, a step forward?
First thing I would say to them is seek someone whom you can talk to. It can be a friend, it could be a relative that you trust, but someone whom you really can talk to. And especially if it's therapy, do it. Stop feeling that therapy means that, oh, I'm crazy, there's something wrong with me. Therapy does not mean that.
Hmm.
A therapist is there for you to talk things through with. And that's what a lot of us need, just to be able to talk things through.
Hmm.
Because most of us are reactive. We react to everything and we don't think first. It's action first and then afterthought and then trying to repair the afterthought. Um, Seek that counseling if you can get it. If even within a church, find yourself a church,
Hmm.
whatever your religion is, someone that you can speak to that will be, you'll have confidentiality with this person and you can be open and honest with them about what you're feeling, what you're going through.
Hmm.
Someone that can and will talk back to you and encourage you in the right ways of the things to do,
Hmm.
you know. And there's help out there. There's organizations out there that are willing to help people. I know I'm here in Massachusetts, in Springfield, Massachusetts, and we have the Mental Health Association. We have the African Diaspora Mental Health Association. We have CHD, which is the Community Health Department,
Hmm.
and they deal with mental health. We have a lot of places. So there's always somewhere in your area that will try to help you if you're having issues because the depression, the anxiety, the fear, all of that, the PTSD, it all falls under your mental health. And if you're not healthy mentally, you're not going to be healthy in any other way.
Yeah, that's true. I always say that too is one of the things I've said it before in the past, like with health and wellness journey, is people want to get healthy.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
The
It's
phone
real
just,
and raw. It's real and raw.
it is. Excuse me, everybody. The phone just slipped.
And but like what I was saying is like people will think about health and wellness and, okay, weight loss for a perfect example. They want to lose weight, so they want to get on go to the gym and they want to, eat healthier, eating kale, things like that. But my own personal experience with my weight loss journey, because after I got sober and put the alcohol down, I replaced alcohol with food. So now I'm
Yeah.
going from 165 pounds to almost 300 pounds in about a year and a half.
Mm,
And when I finally made the decision to make some other lifestyle changes, it took, what was I, 29 at that point when I got sober. I think I was probably about 34, 35 when I was like, okay. I'm smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. I can't even walk up a flight of stairs without losing my breath. I'm having backaches, migraines, a slew of health issues, GI issues, and I was overweight. And I was like, okay, put the cigarettes down. And I started making lifestyle choices and I started losing some weight. But the weight really shut off when I finally faced trauma from sexual assault and I went through trauma therapy and worked through it. And once I worked through that, it was almost like things just started to kind of shut off and I got healthier and
Mm,
then mentally healthier and emotionally healthier and so on and so forth. Because it was so that journey was way more than a weight loss journey. It was like this massive like shift and transformation and healing.
mm. It's so easy, isn't it so easy to replace things, other addictions with food? Food is
Well,
like the easiest thing to run to.
yeah, one of the things I realized was I was still trying to shield my trauma and my pain.
Hmm.
Right? I don't want it to be seen. I don't want to see it. So the weight that I put on was essentially like my shield. It was blocking everything. It was still suppressing and blocking those feelings from coming up. And when it finally came up for this trauma, I had, like I said, I had already lost weight and I was already kind of in this transformational stage. And I was sitting with a group of women that I trusted, and we were talking about the Me Too movement, and they were sharing their stories. And as I'm sitting there, I was half listening because all of a sudden, this situation came up for me that I haven't thought about in 20 years. And I didn't even really remember what happened. And then the flashes started to come, and I started to remember what happened. And then it was like, so I shared it. I was like, well, this was my story. And I'm like, and the funny part is I haven't thought about this or talked about it in over 20 years.
Mm,
And then it didn't leave me. And it just kept playing and playing and playing. And I found myself sitting in my apartment in the dark with the door locked, staring at it, laying on my couch under a blanket. And I'm like, this is not right. This isn't
mm,
healthy. This isn't this isn't how I want to live my life. The these the people that hurt me, because there was two people, the people that hurt me, they don't know who I am and where I live. They're not thinking about me. So they're not going to come barging through my apartment door. I need help. And I
mm.
reached out and I got the help that I needed.
And
And
that's so important. It's
you
very
know,
important to realize that. And sometimes, you think that you're so broken that no one will ever be able to help you, but that's never the truth.
yeah, my shield was put down and it's amazing
Hmm.
when
And
we,
that goes back to what I was saying initially too about peeling back the layers. Like
yes,
you had to get to the root of the problem because we work on the surface so many times and we never get down to what the root of the problem is.
I call
And
that,
that's
yeah,
why the problem keeps coming back because we're putting a band-aid over
yep,
this, we're putting a band-aid over a scratch,
yeah.
but we're not cleaning out the infection.
I call that the layers. The onion effect. You're pulling back the layers of the onion. I call it the onion effect, and it's exactly it. You got to get to the root cause. When you finally heal that one part from that one layer, then you peel back then the next layer shows up. So you're peeling back the next layer.
But
It's
if you never dig deep enough, it'll always keep recycling with you
yes.
and you'll find yourself in the same place that you were from the very beginning, which is not where you want to be. So we've got to do the hard work, put the hard work in, the labor to get to the bottom of what it is that's driving you to be maybe that person that you don't want to be or to be in that place that you don't want to be. And that's blocking you from, again, loving yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, you may think you're loving other people, but you're not.
Yeah.
Even the Bible tells us, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Yep.
What's the first thing? You have to love yourself
Yep.
to be able to love others.
Yeah.
And there's something beautiful and wonderful in all of us. I don't care what we've done, where we've been, how bad it may have been. There's always still something beautiful that's within inside of all of us. We just have to tap into it. And when
Yeah.
you tap into it, let it out. Share it with the world. We want to see it.
I love it. That's a powerful statement and such a great, suggestion and tip and direction for people who are going through this right now. And, one of the things you kind of mentioned earlier too was, the mental health and the state of the world. And I think that trauma kind of kind of intertwines into current things
Hmm.
because you can't turn the news on anymore without
Tragedy.
yeah,
It's either tragedy or aggression, one or the other.
yeah,
You don't need that every day in your life. I'm not saying don't watch the news. I watch it, but I don't watch it every day
yeah,
because I don't want to carry that heaviness.
yeah,
But I need to know what's going on.
right. We want
And
to be informed, and we want to know what's going on, but at the same time, not to the extent where it's disrupting our peace and our mental health.
Mhm.
Earlier this year, I was finding myself almost obsessing. Like I was pulling up articles and I need to be informed. And all it was doing was depleting my energy and putting me in a very, very uncomfortable place where it was almost like I started feeling very depressed, high anxiety, and terrified. And I'm like, no more. I'll still watch a little bit of the news, like you said, but I don't watch it every day, and I'm not clicking on the articles that pop up on, MSN, and you know what I mean? Like, because it's just like,
Yeah,
is this helping me or hurting me?
exactly. Because what can we do about any of this other than really like pray?
Yeah,
That's all we can do. I can't go down there and make anybody to Washington, D.C. and make anyone change anything that is that they want to do.
no,
They're going to do it.
no,
But I have to know that I serve a God that's going to protect me, that's going to keep me. He's promised to never leave or forsake me. So I'm going to be okay, regardless of what happens. I may not
yeah,
be comfortable. See, this is where we get confused.
yes,
Comfortable and okay are not always the same thing. So I may
hmm
be very uncomfortable in my life, very uncomfortable in the situation, but I'm going to survive it.
yep, yeah, we will survive it.
Mm-hmm.
And I
That's
think
it.
that if history shows over and over again that we can survive the most difficult and challenging of situations. I mean, it's the country has always had its hardships and its problems, and it's never been perfect. And it's never been perfect around the world either.
Mm-mm.
And I don't believe that going on like a social media platform and fighting with people about my beliefs against their beliefs and then,
Mm.
ripping and destroying apart families and friendships because we don't see eye to eye just that doesn't serve either. Goes back to the question of is this helping me or hurting me? Because at the end of the day,
Exactly.
it's not going to stop what's happening around us because we can't control it.
We're
We
just
can
adding to
pray.
it, actually. We're adding to it,
Yeah.
to the
Yeah.
chaos and the turmoil that this world is facing.
Yeah.
But this was destined to happen. And this is the beginning.
Hmm.
I really want people to know, as bad as you might feel like or think that things are going right now, we're at the beginning
Yeah.
of this. This isn't the end of it.
Hmm.
It can and will get a lot worse before it actually ends.
Yeah.
So we have to be in tune with ourselves, in tune with our God, and
Yes.
in tune with each other on how we're going to treat each other, how we're going to love one another, how we're going to
Exactly.
serve one another,
Exactly.
because that's what it's all really all about. We were put here to serve one another.
Exactly. And I feel like if we're still showing each other love, serving our God and doing the right thing and coming together, it can make a difference. It really truly and that's all I try every day. That is my purpose to bring love and light into this world, to treat people with kindness and respect because that is like one of my top values, right?
Mm-hmm.
not coming from a place of judgment. If you don't believe the same thing that I do, that's okay. I still love you, you
That's it.
know?
That's it.
I don't care who you
We,
love. I don't care who you are. I don't care. I don't care about any of that. I care
mhm.
about, you know, I care about you as a person. And that's it. And if you're good to me, I'm good to you. You know what I mean? And even if
Yeah,
you're not good to me, I still love you. I'm just going to keep my distance.
yeah. You've got to find that within yourself, like just to be able to accept people, because I think that that's one of our major problems in this world today. We don't accept one another. If you don't like what I like, I don't want any part of you. You're just wrong.
Hmm.
Who said I was right? What made me so right? That my
Right.
way was the only way.
Exactly. Exactly.
There's room for all of us, and there's room for all of us to succeed. I was on another platform with another lady last week, and as I said to her, everyone thinks that the top, making it in the world is like going to the top of an apex, which would be a point, right?
Hmm.
Who told you that the top was a point and only one person can fit up there? How do you not know it's not a platform and all of us
Ah,
can fit up there?
oh, that's good. I'm stealing that.
Go right ahead.
That, oof, like, wow,
Yeah.
that's so
We have there's
true.
only if I succeed, you can't. Why? Why can't we all be on the top?
See, the way I see it is if I'm standing at the top, I'm helping the person underneath me get up there too,
Mm-hmm.
because that is how we succeed.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we come together, when we work together, when we're collaborate, there's so much power in that. So if you're up at that top, reach down to the person behind you and help them up too. And
Mm-hmm.
it keeps the world going in a wonderful direction.
Yeah. Stops you from that fear of everyone's trying to take my place, because we're not all doing the same thing.
Yeah.
We're not, in some of us are doing the same thing, but we're doing it in different ways. So just
Hmm.
like all of our body parts are not the same, guess what? They all work together.
Yeah.
Why can't we be like the body parts? We just all working together.
Yeah. So much truth. So powerful. I love it. And, you know, I am so glad that we dove into this.
I am too.
You know,
I am too.
it's a very, very powerful message to get out there. And, you know, it's like when I think about it, it's like that's what the podcasts are for, and that's what doing our work is for, is because we have this voice and this message, and we want to be able to inspire and empower people.
That's it. That's it. And that's really what sparked me with my show. The God just told me, do it. You can. It took me a year to finally concede and actually start the show up. But
Hmm.
I went to Ireland. I spent the month of April last year in Ireland, and that's when I really got like a revelation. I had to leave from this country to go all the way across the other side of the world to really figure out what my purpose was and to embrace it. I
That's
got there, I knew nothing. I went on a trip with 9 other people that I didn't know,
hmm
to a place that I'd never been, where I couldn't just, it wasn't comfortable because I couldn't just get up and leave and say, I don't want to be here. I'm going home. I
hmm
couldn't do that. I
right.
was stuck there with a whole lot of other people in a whole different culture that I knew nothing about. But I went there and people embraced me. People asked me about my opinions on political situations and on racial racial traumas in the US, and different things. And I got to meet the president of the country and
Oh,
actually speak to people who actually really listened to what I said. And it took me to go across the world to figure out that I did matter and I did have something to say.
that's amazing. I want to go to Ireland. That's actually something my husband and I talk about. Like that's a bucket list trip.
It was for me too. It was for me too. So I sit on a board of a nonprofit organization, and I host a reading of Frederick Douglass's What to the Slave is the Fourth of July. I
Mhm.
host it every year where we come together and we read that speech. I actually go to an after school program and I teach fourth and fifth graders about the speech, about Frederick Douglass, about slavery, and the fact that because Frederick Douglass actually did reside in Massachusetts. So
Mhm.
I want the kids to know that there's someone that looks like you that helped to shape history. So you are important. Don't ever think that um, you can't do something because of the color of your skin, because of where you are from, because of your economic situation.
Mm.
He taught himself how to read. You just have to have the zeal, the desire, and the want to do it, and you
Yeah.
still can do it. So I go and do that with the children, and we come together on the Fourth of July in Court Square, which is actually a place that Frederick Douglass had spoken in
Mhm.
Springfield, and we read the speech, and it's just really important for people to know. So every year, I said all that to say, every year we celebrate Douglass Week, a week of a week across the world dedicated to Frederick Douglass. And so last year it was in Ireland, and the nonprofit organization that I'm on the board for was going there. And since I host a reading, I was asked to go with them, and it was a wonderful experience. It
That's
really was, and
amazing.
I'm actually planning on going back. So maybe you and I and your husband will make it there. We'll do
Yes,
a group trip and go to
I would
Ireland.
I would love that.
Yeah. So
Oh, well, doctor, it was such a pleasure having you on today and diving into these really important topics. If anybody listening wants to be able to contact you, how can they reach you?
okay, so they can reach me on my Facebook page through the doctors in the house um, on Facebook. And if they want to reach me via phone, my number is 860-796-3693. If you leave me a message, I'll get back to you. I also help people with credit repair. So you can also reach me through the credit doctor at myecon.net. And that's credit doctor, CreditDr at myecon.net.
Awesome. And I will be sure to have all of these links posted in the description of this podcast. And if there's any way that I can be of support in your journey, please feel free to reach out to me. You can contact me at my website, www.loriMurphy.coaching.com, or you can also find me on all the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn. I will post those links below as well. And I would also love to invite you ladies to my free Facebook group, the She Thrives Together Facebook group. The link will also be in the description. Please feel free to, request to join. I'd love to have you. And we will continue this mission together. Thank you so much, Doctor. I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And I am so looking forward to having future conversations with you.
Thank you. And
And
I'm looking forward to having you on the doctors in the house as well.
ooh, I can't wait.
We're
Until next
excited
time.
about it.
Yes, me too, because we're gonna dive in deeper into these things, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well, until next time, everybody, please let go of fear and let your spirit shine.